Chapter 3196. Bai Xing asks about crimes. I've seen the mirror image of Jian Wushuang fighting with someone. He killed a rank 7 true saint with the strength of a rank 4 true saint. No one can surpass him. But how could he fight Duan Lang? The white-robed young man asked in confusion. It's like this. The red-haired girl told him what had happened. The white-robed young man was surprised. Temple Master Bai Xing gave him the quota to enter the Bloodwave realm? Yes, and the order has been made public. Temple Master Bai Xing gave the order himself. No one can change it except for the elusive temporal Temple Master, the red-haired girl said. That's not strange. In the opening of the Bloodwave realm this time, Duan Lang should be one of the 5 spots in our temporal temple. However, now that this spot has been given to the Heavenly Sword Marquis, how could Duan Lang be willing to accept it? It's normal for him to want to challenge the Heavenly Sword Marquis. The white-robed young man nodded slightly, then, a smile appeared on his face. The Heavenly Sword Marquis is so talented that he might be even more talented than you and me. I'm a little curious about his battle with Duan Lang. Come, let's go and take a look. Okay. The red-dressed girl immediately agreed. He came here to find this white-robed man. In the center of the spacetime island, there was a huge drill ground. This drill ground was not only vast but there was also a vast spacetime in the center. This spacetime was where the cultivators of the spacetime divine hall usually sparred. Now, the drill ground was quite lively. Many experts of the temporal temple had come here. There are quite a lot of people. There are more than a dozen principals masters. The white-robed young man, Qian Hongzi, and the red-clothed girl, Fei Xue, came to the drill ground together and looked around. There were more than 20 people on the drill ground, and there were more than a dozen principals masters. In fact, these principals masters stayed on the time-space island all year round and had nothing to do. They only came to watch the fight when they knew there were 2 little guys. Of course, most of them were here for Jian Wushuang. After all, Jian Wushuang's battle record of killing a 7th rank true saint in the 4th true realm had shocked these principals masters. By the way, why aren't Di Hao and Yu here? Qian Hongzi asked. There were many top-level immortal saints in the temporal temple, but most of them were very old and had passed their era. Therefore, they were not qualified to enter the Bloodwave realm. In this era, there were 5 people in the temporal temple who were qualified and had the potential to enter the Bloodwave realm, excluding Jian Wushuang. Besides Qian Hongzi, Fei Xue, and Duan Lang, there were 2 other people, Di Hao and Yu Yu. Yu Yu is still adventuring in the outside world and hasn't come back yet. I sent him a message and he said that he will return to the spacetime island in 3 years, Fei Xue said. As for Di Hao, this cultivation madman only cares about himself. He only focuses on cultivation and doesn't care about anything else. Although he has returned to the spacetime island, he entered the spacetime tower as soon as he came back. He didn't respond to my message. These 2 guys, Qian Hongzi smiled bitterly. At this moment, 2 figures appeared in the vast space in the center of the drill ground under everyone's gaze. These 2 people were naturally Jian Wushuang and Duan Lang. Is he Heavenly Sword Marquis? Qian Hongzi stared at Jian Wushuang with interest, then casually said, Fei Xue, who do you think will win the battle between Heavenly Sword Marquis and Duan Lang? I don't know, but in my opinion, Duan Lang has a good chance of winning. Fei Xue said, Duan Lang has long surpassed the rank 7 true saint realm, and his talent is very high. His strength is very close to yours and mine, and he hasn't fought with us for many years. Maybe his strength has improved a lot. Even I'm not sure if I can win against him. As for that Heavenly Sword Marquis, 300 years ago, he was only able to kill a primary rank 7 true saint. Now, 300 years later, if he wants to be compared to Duan Lang, I feel that he is slightly inferior. What you said is right, but don't forget one thing. Giving the spot to Heavenly Sword Marquis was an order personally given by Hall Master Bai Xing. Hall Master Bai Xing's character has long been decided in the temporal temple. She is one-sided and will never favor anyone. And since she gave the spot to Heavenly Sword Marquis, it means that in her heart, Heavenly Sword Marquis is more suitable to head to the Bloodwave realm than Duan Lang. And in terms of strength, that Heavenly Sword Marquis might have already surpassed Duan Lang. Qian Hongzi said. Surpass Duan Lang? That's impossible, right? Fei Shui could not believe it. Just watch. Qian Hongzi smiled faintly. Jian Wushuang and Duan Lang faced each other from a distance in the vast space. Jian Wushuang looked calm, but Duan Lang clenched his hands and looked at Jian Wushuang with a cold gaze. Duan Lang, a cold voice suddenly sounded. The people around the drill ground immediately looked at the noble figure in the void. Temple Master Bai Xing. Duan Lang immediately bowed respectfully. It was my personal order to give the quota to Heavenly Sword Marquis. How dare you question me? Temple Master Bai Xing looked down at Duan Lang. Duan Lang immediately became nervous. He did not expect Temple Master Bai Xing to directly question him before the battle with Jian Wushuang began. Temple Master Bai Xing, Duan Lang said respectfully, I don't dare to question your name. I'm just absolutely confident in my own strength. I'm sure that my strength is definitely above that of Heavenly Sword Marquis. Oh! The beautiful eyes of Palace Master Bai Xing lifted. Following that, he coldly said, this battle can determine the strength of the two of you. If it is really as you say and you defeat Heavenly Sword Marquis and win this great battle, then I guarantee that I will let you enter the Bloodwave realm. What? Duan Lang was stunned at first, but soon after, he became ecstatic. The expressions of the people around the drill ground became strange. What's going on? Palace Master Bai Xing's orders have already been given out, so there shouldn't be any changes. Even if Duan Lang really defeated Heavenly Sword Marquis, those 5 spots shouldn't be changed to his name, right? Fei Shui was filled with doubt. Are you stupid? Qian Hongzi sneered. Who said that the Temporal Temple only has 5 spots? If Palace Master Bai Xing is willing, not to mention 1 spot, even if there are 2 or 3 more spots, it wouldn't be a problem. Fei Shui was stunned for a moment before coming to a realization. That's right, that's right. I forgot that every time we enter the Bloodwave realm, the 5 spots are only given to the Temporal Temple by the various powers in the outside world. It isn't something that the Temporal Temple fought for. Chapter 3197, Jian Wushuang and Duan Lang. Fei Shui also understood. The Temporal Temple had never taken the initiative to fight for a spot in the Bloodwave world. Because there were not many cultivators in the Temporal Temple, there were only a few top immortal saints in each era who had the potential and strength to fight for the opportunity in the Bloodwave realm. Usually, there were 5 spots, it was enough, so there was no need for the Temporal Temple to fight for it. But do not forget, the first-class big forces in the Divine Beginning realm had more than 5 spots each time they entered the Bloodwave realm. Take the Carefree Mansion for example. The Carefree Mansion was only the overlord of the second heaven. It could not compare to the 4 big divine sects and the 8 directions celestial sect in the third sky, let alone the 3 holy regions. But every time the Carefree Mansion entered the Bloodwave realm, more than 5. Even a Carefree Mansion, one of the 3 major Freedom Alliance Temporal Temple, even if there are 10 or 20 places are not too many. If Duan Lang could defeat Jian Wushuang, Temple Master Bai Xing would be able to help him get a spot. It would be easy for him to get a spot. Don't be happy too early. Temple Master Bai Xing looked down at Duan Lang and said coldly, if you defeat Heavenly Sword Marquis, I will naturally help you get a spot. But if you lose to Jian Wushuang, then you will be punished by me. Do you accept it? Punished? Duan Lang's face changed. He also understood that Temple Master Bai Xing's status was not something he could question. Now that he had questioned him unless he could prove that he was stronger than Jian Wushuang, he had to accept the punishment. I accept. Duan Lang nodded. He was confident in his strength and did not think that he would be defeated by Jian Wushuang. Well, in this space-time, you two can fight. Remember, if either side's divine body collapses, they will lose, Temple Master Bai Xing said. Jian Wushuang and Duan Lang nodded heavily. In this space-time, Duan Lang stared at Jian Wushuang with a hint of hostility in his eyes. Heavenly Sword Marquis, even I admire your ability to jump levels. Unfortunately, you need absolute strength to travel in the Bloodwave realm. Are you strong enough? You'll know if I'm strong enough, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Don't talk so much nonsense. Just attack. If you're really capable, defeat me directly. Otherwise, You, an immortal saint, might not be able to bear the punishment of Temple Master Bai Xing. Hearing the word punishment, Duan Lang's heart trembled, but soon his eyes became firm. If you want to avoid the punishment of Temple Master Bai Xing, you just have to defeat him. Duan Lang murmured. With a flip of his hand, a purple spear appeared in his hand. It was extremely cold and powerful. Although it had not reached the level of a supreme treasure, it was definitely a top-tier holy treasure. It was definitely not lower than Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword. Jian Wushuang had also taken out his Blood Mountain sword. Heavenly Sword Marquis, be careful. As soon as Duan Lang finished his words, he dashed forward. The distance between them was instantly crossed by Duan Lang. Star Illusionary Spear. With a shout, the demonic purple spear in Duan Lang's hand pierced through the void and stabbed toward Jian Wushuang. The tip of the spear flickered with purple demonic light like purple stars, illuminating the void. This speed, Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. He waved the Blood Mountain sword in his hand and immediately met the spear head-on. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of metal colliding rang out in the space-time. In a short moment, Jian Wushuang and Duan Lang had exchanged dozens of head-on blows. Whether it was their body speed, their sword and spear strikes were both extremely fast, this was normal. After all, both of them had comprehended the space-time principles, and their comprehension level was very high. The space-time principles were best at speed. Suddenly, Duan Lang raised his hands and the spear in his hands turned into a smash. A violent and scorching power condensed in his spear. The body of the spear was like a flood dragon, and it was thrown directly at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang held his sword to block it. As soon as he made contact with the body of the spear, Duan Lang suddenly put away the spear and then sent it away. This move seemed simple, but it was the most flexible use of spear techniques. A trace of surprise flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes, and he immediately retreated. So powerful. Jian Wushuang stood in the void at the edge, staring at Duan Lang with a burning gaze. Although he had just fought with Duan Lang and neither of them had shown their true strength, the spear technique Duan Lang displayed in such a short exchange had already shocked Jian Wushuang. Duan Lang's spear technique was even more exquisite than his swordsmanship, and his comprehension of the space-time principles seemed to be better than his. In the continuous collisions just now, they seemed to be evenly matched. However, in fact, Jian Wushuang knew that he was at a disadvantage because his sword speed was slightly slower than Duan Lang's spear speed. Although it was only slightly slower, it was still a gap. Heavenly Sword Marquis, is that all you have? Duan Lang held the spear in one hand and stared at Jian Wushuang with an extremely cold gaze. Haha, interesting. Jian Wushuang's lips curled into a smile. Then, a large amount of golden divine power condensed behind him. In the blink of an eye, the 90,000-meter tall punishment divine realm expert was formed. His icy golden eyes, he looked down at Duan Lang with a soul-stirring ability. Duan Lang narrowed his eyes, but his expression did not change at all. Again, Jian Wushuang rushed forward again. Humph! Duan Lang snorted coldly. His figure was like a ghost, and in an instant, the purple stars once again chilled the void. Clang! Clang! After two consecutive exchanges, Duan Lang immediately sensed that Jian Wushuang was different from before. His strength is stronger, and his speed is a little faster. He is indeed a little stronger than before, but that's not enough. Duan Lang's low voice echoed throughout the world, then his spear skill finally exploded. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Purple light burst out like purple electric snakes. His speed was at least 30% faster than when he fought with Jian Wushuang. When Jian Wushuang fought with him, he felt that Duan Lang's spear speed was slightly faster than his sword speed. On this basis, Duan Lang's spear attack speed was 30% faster. Chapter 3198, Shocking Too Fast, Too Fast. Jian Wushuang frowned. He did not expect that even though he had improved his speed and power, he was still much slower than Duan Lang. The evil spear kept stabbing at him like a purple star. It lit up the entire void and enveloped him completely. Jian Wushuang could only try his best to swing his Blood Mountain sword to block it, but it was very difficult to block it. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang was at an absolute disadvantage on the battlefield. He was even completely suppressed by Duan Lang. This scene was witnessed by the surrounding people. Qian Hongzi, didn't you say that Heavenly Sword Marquis should be stronger than Duan Lang? But now it seems that Heavenly Sword Marquis' strength is only SOSO, said Fei Xue, the cheeky woman in red. His swordsmanship is indeed good, and his comprehension of space-time principles is relatively high. His divine power is not weak, but his overall strength is just at the level of a peak saint. Among peak saints, he is only at the middle level, or even above the middle level. Duan Lang is definitely at the top among peak saints. A true saint could be called a peak true saint after reaching the 7th rank. However, above the peak of the 7th rank, there was the invincible saint, who was infinitely close to the level of the invincible saint. The invincible saint was naturally called the invincible saint. And above the peak of the 7th rank, close to the level of the invincible saint, this was called the peak saint by most people. 13 Axes Blood Eagle, Violent Bear, and Duan Lang were all at the peak saint realm. Jian Wushuang's strength was also at the peak saint realm, but it was only in the middle of the peak saint realm. However, Duan Lang had been at this level for many years and was very strong. He was very strong among the peak saints. Don't worry. I always feel that the strength of Heavenly Sword Marquis is not as simple as it seems. Look at Temple Master Bai Xing. He saw that Heavenly Sword Marquis was completely suppressed by Duan Lang, but his expression did not change. This shows that Temple Master Bai Xing has great confidence in Heavenly Sword Marquis. He just hasn't used all of his strength yet, Qian Hongzi said. Is that so? Fei Xue frowned. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang had been completely suppressed by Duan Lang. His figure was also forced into a sorry state. Most importantly, the long spear kept stabbing at him. Jian Wushuang could barely resist it for a short time, but as time went on, I can't resist it anymore. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. He had already seen the purple demonic spear pass through the gap between the Blood Mountain sword and his body with a purple demonic light. The cold tip of the spear directly stabbed at his chest. At such a critical moment, Jian Wushuang's reaction was not slow. He quickly moved his divine body. Although it was extremely difficult, he still managed to move it a little. The cold tip of the spear did not pierce Jian Wushuang's chest, but it pierced his shoulder. Kai! A terrifying strangling power instantly burst out. Jian Wushuang's right arm under the protective armor directly twisted and exploded, and his body also suddenly retreated. Not only is his speed fast, but his power is also so strong. If I hadn't avoided his vital parts, my divine body would have collapsed. Jian Wushuang stopped in the void, looking at his exploded arm, he sighed in his heart. In the void outside the battlefield, Temple Master Bai Xing frowned slightly and said in a low voice, Heavenly Sword Marquis, are you trying to make me lose face? Jian Wushuang was stunned, but he shrugged his shoulders resentfully. Indeed, it was not a big deal to him even if he lost this battle. After all, he still had a spot to enter the Bloodwave realm. However, this spot was set by Temple Master Bai Xing. If he lost to Duan Lang so easily, he would certainly lose face for Temple Master Bai Xing. I'm not playing with you anymore. Jian Wushuang glanced at Duan Lang, then his body swayed slightly. Buzz. Without any warning, Jian Wushuang disappeared from the battlefield. Huh? What happened? Where is he? Fei Xue widened her eyes and looked at the center of the battlefield. However, no matter how hard she searched, she could not find any trace of Jian Wushuang. He disappeared. Where did he go? Qian Hongzi also frowned. Fei Xue and Qian Hongzi, one of them was also a powerful saint at the peak, and the other was a genuine invincible saint. However, at this moment, both of them were at a loss. They did not know where Jian Wushuang had gone. The expressions of the 10 principles masters around them became very interesting. Escape art. And the escape art seems to be very impressive. When he hid, ordinary saints at the peak or even invincible saints could not find him. It's the shadowless evasive technique. The Bloodblade Master's shadowless evasive technique. Bloodblade Master? The #1 assassin from 8 million years ago. Heavens, This kid actually grasped the Bloodblade Master's shadowless evasive technique. Those Principal's Masters were all shocked. Some Principal's Masters even directly let out exclamations. There was nothing they could do. The Bloodblade Master was an extremely terrifying existence from 8 million years ago. The shadowless evasion technique he created was shadowless and traceless. Even the Principal's Masters could not catch a trace of it. Together with the Bloodblade sword technique he created, if he were to assassinate an ordinary Principal's Master, he would be killed without any ability to react. In that era, the Bloodblade Master was publicly recognized as the #1 assassin. His assassination ability was incomparable. The main reason for this was his shadowless escape technique. But now, a little guy at the level of a saint actually grasped this escape technique. The shadowless escape technique created by the Bloodblade Master is definitely one of the most terrifying escape techniques in the divine beginning realm. This kid can actually comprehend it. Amazing. With the shadowless escape technique in hand, Duan Lang is in big trouble. These Principal's Masters all secretly sigh. And in the middle of the battlefield, that wave is now also a tight brow. He also heard the exclamations and discussions of the Principal's Masters around the battlefield, and at this moment, he had also spread his soul power to the greatest extent, but the result, whether it was with the naked eye or a soul search, he could not find any trace of Jian Wushuang. It was as if Jian Wushuang had really disappeared or left the battlefield. However, the 90,000-meter tall Golden Emperor Phantom was still there. It was impossible for Jian Wushuang to have left. Of course, he was still on the battlefield, but he could not sense it. Chapter 3199, Black Demon Secret Technique. Where is this heavenly sword, Marquis? Duan Lang's expression was grave as he kept a vigilant eye on his surroundings. However, at this moment, without any warning, a ghostly figure appeared behind him. At the same time, Duan Lang clearly did not notice it at all. The ghost figure even stabbed out with his long sword. It was a silent sword strike. This sword strike was extremely fast. Duan Lang suddenly widened his eyes. Although he still did not sense the presence of Jian Wushuang or the sword skill that came straight at him, he felt a huge sense of fear from behind him. This fear was naturally formed during his long years of fighting. Without any hesitation, Duan Lang immediately moved to the side. Whoosh! A cold sword shadow pierced Duan Lang's waist. Then, with a slash, a tearing force burst out, but it did not tear the protective armor on Duan Lang's body apart. It only left a white mark on the armor. Duan Lang suddenly retreated. I can't tear his armor apart? Jian Wushuang looked at Duan Lang's armor in surprise, but he nodded secretly. Obviously, the protective armor Duan Lang was wearing should be a top-level holy treasure. Although his Blood Mountain sword was not weaker than Duan Lang's protective armor, this slash was not enough to tear Duan Lang's armor apart. After all, he had just used the silent swordsmanship. It was not the Star Dream first move, which had the strongest tearing and cutting ability in the Wushuang sword manual. Your reaction is quite fast, but how many times can you dodge such an assassination sword skill? Jian Wushuang sneered and disappeared in front of Duan Lang again. Damn it, what did Heavenly Sword Marquis use? Duan Lang's face was extremely ugly. He could not find Jian Wushuang at all. He only knew that Jian Wushuang was hiding in the surrounding void, but he did not know where Jian Wushuang was. However, Jian Wushuang knew where he was. This meant that Jian Wushuang could see, and he was blind. Standing in the void, he could only be a living target for Jian Wushuang. If he wanted to fight back, he did not even know where Jian Wushuang was. How could he fight back? Shadowless escape art, shadowless track. Heavenly Sword Marquis must have just mastered this escape art and just reached the initial success stage. Even so, with the shadowless escape art in the initial success stage, he can easily hide from the soul perception of a peak saint or even an invincible saint. Unless he is an expert who specializes in soul attacks and has an extremely high level of soul research, there is no one among the immortal saints who can find his position. With this escape art, Heavenly Sword Marquis has been invincible from the very beginning. A goateed Principal's Master sighed in admiration. Yes, once this secret art is released, as long as Duan Lang cannot find Heavenly Sword Marquis' true position, he will only be passively beaten. There is no room for him to fight back. Just as Heavenly Sword Marquis said, you can dodge a sword, but you cannot dodge all the assassination sword arts. You will be defeated sooner or later. Another Principal's Master said. Now, I finally understand why Palace Master Bai Xing gave the spot to Heavenly Sword Marquis. Although Heavenly Sword Marquis isn't very strong in a head-on battle and is only at the peak of the middle-level Saint realm, his shadowless evasion technique is definitely more terrifying than many invincible saints, especially in a chaotic battle. This technique of his is simply a nightmare. A graceful woman also smiled faintly. These Principal's Masters had high standards, and they all knew how terrifying the shadowless escape art was. They all thought that with this escape art, Jian Wushuang was invincible, and Duan Lang was doomed to lose. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang used the shadowless escape art to assassinate Duan Lang time and time again. Just as the Principal's Masters had expected, Duan Lang was just a living target. He could only be ambushed by Jian Wushuang and had no ability to fight back. However, Jian Wushuang was unable to hit Duan Lang's vital points and make his divine body collapse even though he had forced Duan Lang into a sorry state. Duan Lang has a strong sense of crisis and is very sensitive. The key is that his body protection ability is very good. It's difficult for me to break his body protection armor with the silent swordsmanship. However, if I use the Star Dream first move, he will be able to sense the power of the swordsmanship in advance and block my attack head-on. Jian Wushuang frowned. Although he had the absolute advantage now, he still felt that Duan Lang was very difficult to deal with. At least his sneak attacks did not really hurt Duan Lang. At this moment, Heavenly Sword Marquis, a loud shout suddenly came from Duan Lang's mouth. Hey! Jian Wushuang hid in the surrounding void and looked at Duan Lang. I admit that you are very strong. You are only a rank 6 true saint, but you can have such battle strength and have mastered such a strange escape skill. You are indeed very difficult to deal with. Temple Master Bai Xing should have given you the quota to enter the Bloodwave realm. If it were me a month ago, I would have been beaten up again and again by your escape skill. In the long run, I will definitely lose, Duan Lang said. Hearing this, the surrounding Principal's Masters looked at each other in dismay. They all thought Duan Lang would lose, but what Duan Lang meant was that he would lose a month ago, but now, it was a month later. Duan Lang, you can use whatever tricks you have. Jian Wushuang's voice sounded from all directions. Humph, as you wish. Duan Lang just smiled coldly. The moment his smile fell, buzz. A terrifying black wave suddenly spread out from his body. The black wave covered the entire battlefield with the black wave at an alarming speed. As the black wave took shape, a faint destructive power slowly rose on the battlefield. This is, when the surrounding people saw this scene, their pupils constricted. It's the Black Devil's secret technique. It's a secret technique Duan Lang has been cultivating. Many years ago, I saw him use it. This secret technique is his strongest trump card. However, the Black Devil's secret technique he used this time seems to be different from the last time. Qian Hongzi frowned. The Principal's Masters by his side had already cried out in surprise. A Black Devil's secret technique that has even formed a Black Ripple domain? Great success. This is a Black Devil's secret technique that has reached great success. My God. A Black Devil's secret technique. Even if a Principal's Master cultivates it to great success, it would still be extremely terrifying. Chapter 3200, Black Devil Domain __. There were all kinds of secret techniques in the Secret Technique Pavilion of the Temporal Temple. There were many of them, and they were all of the very high levels. For example, many of the secret techniques on the first level of the Secret Technique Pavilion were created by many Principal's Master. The secret techniques on the second level were created by some powerful Principal's Masters, including those who stood at the peak level. Many of them were shockingly famous in the Divine Beginning realm. As for the third level, there was only one spacetime divine technique. And the Black Devil secret technique was one of the most famous secret techniques among the 100 or so secret techniques in the second level of the Secret Technique Pavilion. The creator of this secret technique, the Master of Black Devil, was an exceptional mission that stirred up the storm in the divine beginning realm many years ago. His strength was definitely at the top among the principal's masters. The Black Devil secret technique he created, and powerful. However, it was very difficult to master this secret technique. Duan Lang had been practicing this secret technique all this time and had also practiced it to a small success. This was already very good in the eyes of many people, but now Duan Lang can cast this secret skill, can form the Black Devil domain unexpectedly. This Black Devil domain is the domain of the Black Devil which can only be controlled by the master of the Black Devil's secret arts. Once the Black Devil domain was completed, not only would Duan Lang's strength increase significantly, but more importantly, his perceptive ability would increase by more than 10 times. In the center of the Black Ripple domain, Duan Lang's face was cold and his eyes were like torches. With the help of the Black Devil domain, he found Jian Wushuang's location in an instant. There. Duan Lang's eyes seemed to have 2 flashes of lightning shooting toward an empty space. At the same time, he moved. As if teleporting, Duan Lang appeared in the void. At the same time, the purple demonic spear in his hand immediately brought out endless power. A large amount of purple light gathered in the spear, and the vast power of space-time principles surged into the spear. Black Magic Dragon Divine Spear. Duan Lang let out a roar and thrust the purple spear forward. In an instant, an earth-shaking dragon roar spread crazily. The whole world was stirred, and a large number of black ripples spread out crazily. This extremely fierce and terrifying spear thrust directly toward the seemingly empty void in front of him. This void was where Jian Wushuang was hiding. Oh no! Jian Wushuang's expression changed greatly. He did not expect Duan Lang to be able to find him in an instant after using this secret skill. When the terrifying spear thrust toward him, he was the first to react. Wushuang's sword technique, Shi Xiong, whoosh. A blood-red sword light suddenly slashed out. At this moment, Jian Wushuang also unleashed his power to the limit, wanting to block the spear head-on. But in the end, clang. When the two came into contact, Jian Wushuang instantly felt a majestic power from the spear. This power was not something he could withstand with the Shi Xiong move. In an instant, Jian Wushuang's sword move collapsed, and the shocking power from the long pincers still hit his divine body. Bang! 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 The void suddenly exploded, and Jian Wushuang's body was sent flying to the edge of the battlefield. His divine body kept trembling, and it took him a long time to recover. What a terrifying spear move! Not only did it defeat my Shi Xiong first style in an instant, but it also directly hit my divine body, causing it to collapse by nearly 40%. Jian Wushuang stood there and looked at Duan Lang in front of him, but his heart was in turmoil. Duan Lang's spear move was indeed extremely terrifying. Jian Wushuang was sure that the power of this spear move was definitely not weaker than the full-strength attack of the Invincible Saint. It should be Duan Lang's most powerful move. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and immediately used the Shi Xiong move. If it hadn't been for the defense of the Shi Xiong move, his spear move could still shatter my divine body through my golden armor, Jian Wushuang secretly exclaimed. The Shi Xiong first move was the most powerful attack in the Wushuang sword manual. He tried his best to block Duan Lang's spear, but his divine body still collapsed by nearly 40%. The power of Duan Lang's spear could be imagined. Heavenly Sword Marquis. A cold voice sounded. Duan Lang stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold gaze. Your body protection ability is not weak. I have studied that spear for thousands of years and used it with the Black Demon secret skill. How could it only destroy 30 to 40% of your divine body? However, although it didn't completely destroy your divine body, I have the Black Devil realm. Your escape skill is useless to me. Without it, you're no match for me. Admit defeat. Duan Lang said it bluntly. When the surrounding principal's masters heard this, they all nodded in unison. Indeed, at first, they thought Duan Lang was going to lose because Jian Wushuang's shadowless escape skill was too strange. They thought Duan Lang would only be a living target in front of Jian Wushuang. But now, when they saw Duan Lang use the Black Devil realm, they knew Duan Lang was going to win. Because the Black Devil realm could increase Duan Lang's perception by more than 10 times, it was just enough to counter the shadowless escape technique. As long as Jian Wushuang had nowhere to hide, he would definitely be inferior to Duan Lang in terms of strength. Even Temple Master Bai Xing, who had always been indifferent and had absolute confidence in Jian Wushuang, frowned slightly at this moment. Obviously, Duan Lang had cultivated the Black Devil realm to the profound realm, which was something she had not expected. In the center of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and stared at Duan Lang, but a smile suddenly appeared on his face. "You want me to admit defeat? It's not that easy. Duan Lang, you are indeed very strong, much stronger than any of the immortal saints I've fought with. But because of that, in order to respect you, I will give it my all, my best." When the spectators heard this, their expressions became strange. Jian Wushuang's words clearly meant that he had not used his full strength until now. "Humph, you're talking big. Aren't you afraid of losing your tongue? If you have any other tricks, just bring them out." Duan Lang's voice was low, but his brows were full of confidence. He did have the right to be confident. His strength was already extremely strong, and he was the best among the peak saints. Now that he had cultivated the Black Devil secret skill to the profound realm, he could even fight with the invincible saint. How could he take Jian Wushuang seriously? Jian Wushuang did not speak again, but the divine power aura of the 6th level ultimate true saint began to rise at an alarming speed. Chapter 3201. Admitting defeat. The 3 secret skills of the 7-star mysterious sect greatly improved his strength. The divine punishment skill, the 7-star secret skill, and the 9 brilliant star armor. Previously, Jian Wushuang had only used the divine punishment skill, including the battle with the 13 axes in the 9 Wolf Mountain range and the fight with Duan Lang. But now, he had directly used the 7-star secret skill and the 9 dazzling star armor. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Jian Wushuang's divine power aura rose from the original limit of rank 6 to rank 7 true saint. Has his divine power aura improved? Has he made a breakthrough? Not a breakthrough. He just used a secret skill to improve his realm. It's extraordinary that it can help a rank 6 ultimate true saint reach rank 7 true saint in such a short time. The eyes of the surrounding experts lit up with anticipation. This battle had shocked the principal's masters twice. The first time was when Jian Wushuang used the shadowless escape skill. The second time was when Duan Lang cultivated the Black Devil secret skill to the profound realm and used the Black Devil realm. This had changed their judgment of the outcome of the battle. Now, they were looking forward to being shocked for the third time. In the center of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang, who had temporarily reached the level of a rank 7 true saint, was exuding a majestic divine power that was even stronger than Duan Lang's. It was normal for him to be at the peak of rank 6 to rank 7 true saint. It seemed that there was only a difference of 1 level, but there was a difference of several times or even nearly 10 times in the power of divine power. The 9 luminary star armor could also greatly increase the power of Jian Wushuang's attack. "Duan Lang, take this," Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. He held the Blood Mountain sword with both hands and raised it high. The moment he raised it, the Blood Mountain sword instantly stirred the surrounding space and time, turning the surrounding space and time into the blood. The blood-red sky, the blood-red earth, and even the air began to fill with blood mist. Duan Lang stood in front of Jian Wushuang. He even seemed to be able to see the piles of bones under Jian Wushuang's feet condense into a blood sea. The shocking killing intent soared to the sky, making Duan Lang's heart skip a beat. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was no longer a human cultivator, but an Azura who had transformed into hell. It was a blood-colored Azura. The blood-colored Azura raised the sword in its hand and slowly slashed out. It was a simple slash as if it did not contain any power. However, the moment the Blood Mountain sword was slashed out, a shocking blood-colored sword light suddenly attacked. This sword, Duan Lang frowned slightly and a trace of doubt arose in his heart. He could see that the power of the blood-red sword light that Jian Wushuang displayed was indeed powerful. However, in the light wheel level, this sword light was also only at the level of a rank 8 absolute art. Moreover, it was coming toward him so openly, he could totally try to avoid it. Even if he could not avoid it, he was confident that he could easily withstand it. This heavenly sword Marquis has been accumulating power for so long. Is this the best sword technique he can use? Duan Lang was still confused. Suddenly, a wave of spacetime power came toward him without any warning. What? Duan Lang was shocked. This power, before Duan Lang could do anything, the spacetime he was in instantly froze. Time-space freeze. Although the time-space freeze could not last long for Duan Lang, who also comprehended the spacetime principles and had a high level of comprehension and strength. Jian Wushuang did not need the time-space freeze to last long. He only needed a moment. It was enough in the blink of an eye. In a battle between experts, especially when their strength was at their level, even such a short and negligible moment was enough to determine the winner. Duan Lang was caught in the spacetime freeze and instantly regained his senses. However, by the time he regained his senses, the blood-colored sword ray had already appeared less than 3 meters in front of him. At such a close distance, even Duan Lang did not have the ability to block it. He could not even wave his arm to block the spear in front of his chest. He could only watch as the blood-colored sword ray struck his body. Bang! With a low boom, Duan Lang was shot out like a cannonball. On the way, he kept rolling and retreated to the edge of the battlefield before he could stabilize himself. As soon as he stabilized himself, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was still shaking crazily. After a while, he raised his head again and looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of astonishment. That was the heaven-designated skill. Duan Lang was in disbelief. He did not expect that Jian Wushuang could perfectly integrate the first move of the space-time divine skill, the heaven-designated skill, into his swordsmanship. He was seriously injured when he was not paying attention. Fortunately, his body protection ability was strong enough. Even though he was not blocked at all, Jian Wushuang's sword strike did not completely destroy his divine body on the spot. It was only 70% destroyed. After all, 70% of his divine body was not completely destroyed and did not need to be reconstructed. Therefore, in theory, he did not lose. Sure enough, even if I go all out and use many secret skills to use this blood azura, I can only severely injure him. However, it is still not enough to directly destroy his divine body, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Then, he flipped his palm and put the Blood Mountain sword back into his interspatial ring. This battle, I admit defeat. Jian Wushuang's clear voice echoed throughout the drill ground. Duan Lang was stunned and immediately frowned. The experts watching the battle looked at each other with strange looks. Admit defeat. Heavenly Sword Marquis actually admitted defeat. Fei Xue was very surprised. That sword attack just now should be Heavenly Sword Marquis' strongest sword attack. However, this sword attack only caused Duan Lang's divine body to be heavily injured. It isn't enough to completely destroy Duan Lang's divine body. In other words, Heavenly Sword Marquis isn't able to directly defeat Duan Lang, Qian Hongzi said. Even if that's the case, it doesn't mean that Duan Lang can defeat Heavenly Sword Marquis, right? The strength of the two of them should be on par. If Heavenly Sword Marquis were a little more tenacious, he would definitely be able to win in the end, Fei Xue said. That's the case, but, Qian Hongzi laughed instead. Fei Xue, don't forget that regardless of whether Heavenly Sword Marquis wins or loses, he can still head to the Bloodwave realm, but Duan Lang can't. Fei Xue was startled, but he immediately understood as well. Chapter 3202, Thank you indeed. Temple Master Bai Xing had given the order, but Jian Wushuang could enter the Bloodwave world no matter how the battle ended. But Duan Lang, if he lost to Jian Wushuang in this battle, not only could he not enter the Bloodwave realm, but he would also be punished by Temple Master Bai Xing. The thought of Temple Master Bai Xing's punishment made people shudder. Did Heavenly Sword Marquis admit defeat on purpose? Fei Xue could not help asking. Sort of. Of course, before he admitted defeat, he also used his strongest sword move to prove to everyone that he indeed had the strength to enter the Bloodwave realm. This saved Temple Master Bai Xing's face and helped Duan Lang. It was a win-win situation. Qian Hongzi smiled indifferently. Heavenly Sword Marquis is quite smart. Hearing this, Fei Xue had a strange expression. While Fei Xue and Qian Hongzi were discussing why Jian Wushuang admitted defeat, The 10 principals masters around them were shocked by the move Jen Wushuang had just made. Did you see that move clearly? Of course, we saw it clearly. It's the time-space stagnation and the heaven-designated skill. How did Heavenly Sword Marquis merge the heaven-designated skill into his own swordsmanship? How did he do it? He integrated the space-time divine skill with his own swordsmanship. My God! The principal's masters found it unbelievable. This was normal because even Temple Master Bai Xing and Ba Kang were shocked when they saw Jen Wushuang's battle for the first time and knew that Jen Wushuang had integrated the heaven-designated skill into his own swordsmanship, let alone them. I've been in the temporal temple for a long time, but I've never heard of anyone who could integrate the space-time divine skill into his own unique skill. This Heavenly Sword Marquis is really a genius. That's true, but he has such powerful and terrifying swordsmanship. Logically, he should be able to compete with Duan Lang, but he actually admitted defeat. Why did he admit defeat? Who knows? The principal's masters were chatting casually. Although they did not know the reason, since Jen Wushuang had admitted defeat, the battle would naturally end. Heavenly Sword Marquis. Temple Master Bai Xing's figure flashed and appeared on the battlefield. She glanced at Jen Wushuang with her sharp eyes. Jen Wushuang's heart trembled. He smiled awkwardly and said, Temple Master Bai Xing, I did try my best, but I really couldn't find a way to defeat Duan Lang, so I had to admit defeat. Jen Wushuang said so on the surface, but in fact, only he knew that he had held back in this battle. After all, he had never used his domain-type supreme treasure. He had never used some of his trump cards, such as the Mountain River Map and the 6 Paths Reincarnation secret skill. However, these trump cards were all his trump cards, he would only use them if he had to fight with his life on the line. Now that he was only sparring with Duan Lang and had a place to enter the Bloodwave realm, there was no need for him to fight so hard. Of course, even if he did not use his trump cards, he might still be able to defeat Duan Lang. However, he did not want to continue fighting because Duan Lang's strength had won his respect. Even my shadowless escape art is useless in front of him. Although I can severely injure him with my Blood Azura sword with many secret skills, his spear skills are extremely terrifying. Apart from Blood Azura, I can't fight him with other sword skills. Duan Lang is so strong and talented. It would be a pity if he doesn't go to the Bloodwave realm, Jen Wushuang thought. Temple Master Bai Xing only took a deep look at Jen Wushuang. She did not know if she had seen through his thoughts. Of course, she did not blame Jen Wushuang. Instead, she looked at Duan Lang. Duan Lang, it seems that my previous decision was too arbitrary. I didn't expect you to cultivate the Black Devil secret skill to the profound realm in the Saint realm. With the help of the Black Devil realm, your strength is no less than that of an ordinary invincible saint. With such strength, you can naturally enter the Bloodwave realm, Temple Master Bai Xing said coldly. According to what I said before, since you have defeated the Heavenly Sword Marquis, I will naturally get you a place to enter the Bloodwave realm. As for the punishment, there will naturally be no more. During this period of time, all of you should prepare well. All right, everyone, disperse. Temple Master Bai Xing spoke, and his figure directly disappeared from the drill ground. The principal's masters on the drill ground looked at each other in dismay and then left one by one. When they left, they more or less glanced at Jen Wushuang and Duan Lang, feeling somewhat shocked. They were first shocked that Duan Lang could cultivate the Black Devil secret skill to the profound realm, but they were even more shocked that Jen Wushuang could not only master the shadowless escape skill but also integrate the heaven-designated skill into his own sword skill. This was incredible. After everyone left, Heavenly Sword Marquis, Duan Lang came to Jen Wushuang with a complicated expression. After a while, he said solemnly, "Thank you for today. I, Duan Lang, owe you a favor. Owe me a favor." Jen Wushuang laughed. "Don't misunderstand. I'm not sure I can defeat you. But I'm not sure I can defeat you either. If we continue to fight, who knows who will win? You didn't continue to fight with me. Instead, you just admitted defeat. Naturally, you helped me," Duan Lang said. Jen Wushuang shrugged and did not argue. "Heavenly Sword Marquis, it's rare to meet an opponent like you. How about you and I have a drink?" Duan Lang said. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded happily. Qian Hongzi, Fei Xue, you two come too. Duan Lang glanced at the two people not far away. Haha, then we won't be polite. Qian Hongzi and Fei Xue also agreed readily. In the center of a huge courtyard, 4 figures sat together under a tilted tree. Heavenly Sword Marquis, I'm afraid you still know them. Let me introduce them to you. This is Qian Hongzi and this is Fei Xue. Like us, they will enter the Bloodwave realm to explore. Duan Lang said. Jian Wushuang nodded to Qian Hongzi and Fei Xue. Although it was his first time seeing them, he had heard of them before. Haha, brother Heavenly Marquis, I've heard of you more than 300 years ago. At that time, you hadn't come to the time-space island, but your reputation is amazing, Qian Hongzi laughed heartily. Indeed. To kill a rank 7 true saint in a head-on fight as a rank 4 true saint, I'm afraid no one else in the divine beginning realm has the ability except you, brother Heavenly Marquis, Fei Xue said with a smile. Chapter 3203, Opportunities in the Bloodwave realm under the tilted tree. Jian Wushuang was talking with Qian Hongzi, Duan Lang, and Fei Xue with great enthusiasm. Brother Heavenly Marquis, I see that your divine power and aura are only at the rank 6 true saint, right? Qian Hongzi suddenly asked. That's right. Jian Wushuang nodded. A rank 6 true saint has almost the same battle strength as an invincible saint. His ability to cross ranks, Qian Hongzi, Duan Lang, and Fei Xue looked at each other, not knowing what to think. The 3 of them were the top immortal saints in the temporal temple, and all of them were extremely talented. However, compared to Jian Wushuang, the gap was not small. A rank 6 true saint is already so powerful. If you break through to rank 7 true saint, your battle strength will be even stronger. At that time, among the immortal saints in the temporal temple, only Di Hao can compete with you, Qian Hongzi said. Duan Lang and Fei Xue also nodded. Speaking of Di Hao, why aren't he and Yu here? Jian Wushuang asked. Besides Jian Wushuang, Qian Hongzi, and Fei Xue, there were 2 others on the list given by Temple Master Bai Xing. They were Di Hao and Yu. In terms of strength, Di Hao was widely recognized as the strongest. He was not only an invincible saint but also one of the top ones. Even among the immortal saints in the divine beginning realm, there were only a few who could match him. Di Hao is a cultivation maniac. He keeps to himself and doesn't care about the outside world. As for Yu, he has been wandering in the outside world and hasn't come back yet, Fei Xue said. Is that so? Jian Wushuang understood. Brother Heavenly Marquis, don't worry. You'll see them when the Bloodwave realm opens in a while. At that time, we'll have to work together to find the opportunity in the Bloodwave realm, Duan Lang said with a smile. Opportunity? Jian Wushuang gave a strange smile. To be honest, although I've got a place to enter the Bloodwave realm and fought with brother Duan Lang just now, I still don't know what kind of opportunity there is in the Bloodwave realm. Why is it so attractive that so many top-level, peak-level, and even invincible immortal saints want to enter it so badly? You don't know? Qian Hongzi and the other 2 were stunned. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. He really did not know. Temple Master Bai Xing had told him that there was a great opportunity in the Bloodwave realm, which was enough to make almost all the immortal saints go crazy, but he did not know what it was. Brother Heavenly Marquis, let me tell you. Duan Lang became serious. The Bloodwave realm indeed contains an opportunity that can make all the immortal saints go crazy, and this opportunity is the Bloodwave Palace. Bloodwave Palace? What's that? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. It's a large palace in the center of the Bloodwave realm. It was left behind by the founder of the Bloodwave realm. However, no one seems to know who founded the Bloodwave realm. It's a fact that there are great opportunities in the Bloodwave Palace. As for the specific opportunities, there are many rumors in the outside world, but few of them are credible. However, there's one thing. Almost all the immortal saints who can enter the Bloodwave Palace have broken through to become Principal's Masters after they come out of the Bloodwave Palace, Duan Lang said. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Almost all the immortal saints who entered the Bloodwave Temple would become Principal's Masters after coming out. Brother Duanlang, what you said is too vague. What is the specific ratio? Jian Wushuang asked. I said almost, so it's impossible for them to become principal's masters. But, take the last million years as an example. In the last million years, the Bloodwave realm opened 10 times, and countless top-notch saints entered each time. After a fierce competition, only 10 people successfully entered the Bloodwave Temple. In total, 100 top-notch immortal saints entered the Bloodwave Temple. Among the 100 top immortal saints, only one failed to become a principal's master. The other 99 became principal's masters after they left the Bloodwave Temple, Duanlang said solemnly. How is that possible? Jian Wushuang was completely shocked. The Bloodwave realm had been opened 10 times, and a total of 100 top immortal saints had entered it. In the end, 99 of them became principal's masters, but only one failed to break through. What kind of concept was this? Did this not mean that as long as they entered the Bloodwave Palace, 99% of them would break through and become principal's masters? Principal's masters, that was a lofty existence in the divine beginning realm. Principal's masters had completely grasped a set of principles, and they also had the power of will. Their strength far surpassed that of the immortal saints. The divine beginning realm was born to the extreme, and it had given birth to countless geniuses and evilders. These geniuses and evilders were mostly able to cross realms to challenge others. However, crossing realms was at most able to cross realms at the level of true saints. However, it was almost impossible to challenge the principal's master at the true saint realm. Since ancient times, among the many geniuses and monsters born in the divine beginning realm, only 2 or 3 of them could fight against the principal's master at the immortal saint realm. From this, one could see the gap between them. Naturally, many immortal saints in the divine beginning realm yearned to cross this threshold and become the principal's master. However, the principal's master's step was extremely difficult. It was not something that could be crossed just like that. There were many powerful immortal saints in the divine beginning realm, but they had not taken this step for countless years. In the Bloodwave realm, as long as one could enter the Bloodwave realm, 99% of them could become a principal's master. It was no wonder that countless top immortal saints in the divine beginning realm were so crazy about such an incredible opportunity. They were so desperate to enter the Bloodwave realm. How many immortal saints could resist such an incredible opportunity? Brother Heavenly Marquis, now you know why I am so unwilling to accept your challenge and want to take back the spot in the Bloodwave realm. Duanlang stared at Jian Wushuang with a burning gaze. There's no other way. It's too difficult to break through to become a principal's master by relying on one's own ability. Even among the hundreds of top immortal saints, not one may be able to break through. The opportunity in the Bloodwave Palace in the Bloodwave realm is a shortcut for us to directly become principal's masters. There won't be another shortcut like this in the entire divine beginning realm. Chapter 3204. Desire After hearing Duanlang's explanation, Jian Wushuang felt relieved. Who did not want to become a principal's master? There were many shortcuts to becoming a principal's master in Bloodwave Palace. Even Jian Wushuang himself was full of desire and fanaticism for this shortcut, let alone Duanlang. Naturally, many top immortal saints in the divine beginning realm were crazy about entering the Bloodwave realm. The opportunity in the Bloodwave realm is enough to drive many immortal saints crazy. Every time the Bloodwave realm opens, only 10 people can enter the Bloodwave temple to get the opportunity. Therefore, the competition in the Bloodwave realm will be unusually fierce and the killing will be extensive, Chen Hongzi said solemnly. As far as I know, every time the Bloodwave realm opens, a large number of top-notch saints participate in it. Among them, there are many top-notch immortal saints who are killed in the competition. Many top-notch immortal saints die each time, and even a few invincible saints are killed each time. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Every time the Bloodwave realm opened, a group of top immortal saints would die, and even a few invincible saints would die. Obviously, the competition in the Bloodwave realm was so fierce that even invincible saints could not survive. Brother Heavenly Marquis, your current realm should have reached the limit of rank 6, right? There are still more than 8 years before the Bloodwave realm opens. In these 8 years, Can you think of a way to break through to rank 7 true saint? Qian Hongzi asked. Right now, you are only at the true level of the limit of rank 6, yet you can fight Duan Lang to such an extent. If you can take another step forward and break through to become a rank 7 true saint, then when you unleash your full power, even amongst the invincible saints, you will probably be considered quite strong. At that time, the small team of 6 of us will have stronger combat power, and we will have more capital to roam around the Bloodwave realm, Fei Xue said. The battle in the Bloodwave realm was extremely fierce and crazy. Although 6 people from the Temporal Temple had entered the Bloodwave realm together and they would form a small team, their 6-man team was still in the Bloodwave realm. They might not be able to do whatever they wanted. The stronger Jian Wushuang was, the better. Hearing their words, Jian Wushuang could not help but smile bitterly. As you know, 300 years ago, I was only a rank 4 true saint. The reason why I was able to reach the peak of rank 6 in these 300 years was mainly that I had made great progress in the space-time principles and sword principles. I could also feel the existence of bottlenecks, so after staying in the space-time tower for a period of time, I successfully broke through 2 realms, but now, I have just reached the limit of rank 6. I can't even sense the barrier in my body, so how can I break through? Even if I stay in the temporal tower for the past 8 years, I'm afraid I won't be able to break through. Jian Wushuang shook his head. It was not that he did not have confidence in himself, but that he had just experienced a huge breakthrough in his realm. It had only been a short time since he had reached the limit of rank 6 and was now a rank 7 true saint. This bottleneck was not so easy to break through. Regarding this, Qian Hongzi, Duan Lang, and Fei Xue could only feel regret. All right, I've drunk the wine. I've said what I should say. There are still 8 more years. I don't want to waste these 8 years, so I'll go back first. Qian Hongzi stood up. I have to go cultivate too. I originally thought that among the people from my temporal temple who entered the Bloodwave realm this time, my strength should still be at the middle level. I did not expect Duan Lang and Heavenly Sword Marquis to be so strong. If nothing unexpected happens now, I should be the weakest among the 6. If I don't work hard, I'll be dragging you guys down by then. Fei Xue added. In that case, let's go, Duan Lang said with a smile. Soon, the 4 of them left one by one. After leaving Duan Lang, Jian Wushuang flew alone in the void of the time-space island, but his expression was very solemn. The opportunities in the Bloodwave realm are so huge. When the time comes, the battles between countless top-notch immortal saints, including some invincible saints, will be very fierce. Although I'm not weak, with my current strength, it's still too difficult for me to snatch the qualification to enter the Bloodwave Palace from so many top expert. In addition, the Bloodwave realm is open to all sects in the Divine Beginning realm. Not only the Temporal Temple, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, the Divine Ancestor Daoist sect, and many top sects in the Divine Beginning realm, but also the First Heaven. The 3 Saint realms, the 4 Divine clans, and the 8 Directions Divine sect will probably send experts to participate. The 3 Saint realms are my mortal enemies. Once they know that I'm in the Bloodwave realm, they will certainly come to kill me at all cost. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. He had reached the 4th stage of comprehending space-time principles and had mastered teleportation. He could also use space-time teleportation, which was very powerful for survival. The principles masters could not enter the Bloodwave realm at all. Even the power of the will of heaven was limited. If he stayed in the Bloodwave realm, no one should be able to kill him. However, when he went to the Bloodwave realm, his purpose was not only to ensure that he did not die. He also had to participate in the competition, and he might even fight with the 3 Saint realms. Naturally, he needed to be stronger. I have just reached the peak of rank 6. It's almost impossible for me to make a breakthrough in the past 8 years. In terms of rules, I can't improve much in the past 8 years. In the past 8 years, there's only one person who can make a huge difference in my strength. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone with a fierce light. He immediately rushed into the distance. In just a moment, Jian Wushuang arrived at the true martial mystic realm again. In the vast ice field of the true martial mystic realm, there stood tall icebergs. Each of the icebergs had the names of their ancestors, which were left behind by the principal's masters in the history of the divine beginning realm. Jian Wushuang was very familiar with the way, so he came to the base of a huge iceberg near the center. In the middle of the iceberg, there were 4 characters carved with flying dragons and dancing phoenixes. Bloodblade Master. Moreover, these 4 characters were blood red. Bloodblade Master was widely recognized as the #1 assassin in that era 8 million years ago, and he was the king of assassins who was best at assassination. His shadowless escape art and the Bloodblade sword art were both famous throughout the world. During the 290 years that Jian Wushuang spent on the Timespace Island, he spent most of his time in the true martial mystic realm, which was under the iceberg. He saw the shadowless escape art and the Bloodblade sword art that the Bloodblade Master had left behind. After a period of careful study and comprehension, he had mastered the shadowless escape art, but he had yet to master the Bloodblade sword art. Chapter 3205. The Bloody Sword skill. The combination of the shadowless escape skill and the Bloody Sword skill created the widely recognized #1 assassin of that era, the master of the Bloody Sword. However, I have only mastered the shadowless escape skill, Jian Wushuang muttered. Previously, in the Nine Wolf Mountain Range, he had used the shadowless escape skill and the silent sword skill he had comprehended to kill the 13 axes. The reason was that the 13 axes were too weak. If it had been another expert, such as Jian Wushuang, who had used the shadowless escape art to perform the silent swordsmanship when he was fighting Duan Lang, the 13 axes would have been killed. However, Duan Lang had reacted at the last moment and avoided his vital points in time. The swordsmanship could not pierce through Duan Lang's protective armor when it pierced his divine body. In other words, even if Duan Lang did not have the Black Demon realm and could not sense his presence, he could at least last for a long time in his hands. However, if the silent sword skill was replaced with the Bloodblade sword skill, the silent sword skill was left behind by the Sword Origin Master. In terms of strength, although the Sword Origin Master is also a Principal's Master, he is far inferior to the Bloodblade Master. Moreover, the silent sword skill is not the strongest sword skill of the Sword Origin Master. It was just casually left behind by the Sword Origin Master. In comparison, the Bloodblade sword skill is naturally much stronger than the silent sword skill, Jian Wushuang thought. There were still more than 8 years before the opening of the Bloodwave realm. During these 8 years, Jian Wushuang had been thinking of mastering the Bloodblade sword art. Once he mastered it, with the Bloodblade sword art and the shadowless escape art, his assassination ability would be truly terrifying. At that time, not to mention a peak saint, even an invincible saint could be killed if he was not careful. I've been comprehending the blood sword skill for a while. There are 4 sword skills in total, each of which is extremely exquisite and complicated. I only have 8 years. It's impossible for me to master all 4 sword skills of the blood sword skill. I can only focus all my energy on the first move of the blood sword skill. If I can master the first move in these 8 years, it'll be a great achievement. Jian Wushuang already had his own plan in his heart. Immediately, he began to carefully study the image left by the Bloodblade Master under the iceberg. In the image, the Bloodblade Master performed a total of 4 sword techniques. The first move was called Dripping Blood. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, more than 8 years had passed. In the true martial mystic realm, Jian Wushuang was still sitting cross-legged under the iceberg with a slight frown on his face. Blood drop, sword rise, blood drop. This sword move condenses all the power into one point, and then suddenly explodes and penetrates the opponent's divine body. Not only in terms of swordsmanship speed but also in terms of power, it is much stronger than the breath-free swordsmanship, especially the terrifying penetrating power. Jian Wushuang slightly clenched his hands. The most terrifying part of the blood drop move of the Bloody Blade sword technique was the penetrating power. It condensed all the power into the tip of the sword and then exploded, breaking through all the obstacles in front of it in an instant. This blood drop move is extremely exquisite. Over the past 8 years, I have spent all my energy on this sword move. Although I have comprehended most of the mysteries of this sword move and can barely perform this sword move, what I can perform is only a framework, but I can't perform the true power of this sword move. I always feel that something is missing. If I'm not wrong, What I lack is the penetrating power. The penetrating power contained in the first move of Blood Drop doesn't seem to be as simple as it seems. Jian Wushuang frowned. He had already realized that he was missing something when he was comprehending the first move of Blood Drop, and he already knew what he was missing. If he was given more time to comprehend the sword skill under the iceberg, he would be able to completely comprehend it in 3 to 5 years at most. Unfortunately, he did not have that much time, because the Bloodwave realm was about to open. It's too late. Temple Master Bai Xing has sent me a message to gather at the drill ground. Jian Wushuang looked up at the iceberg in front of him, feeling a little regretful. His original plan was to master the Blood Drop 1 move before he went to the Bloodwave realm, but now it seemed that he could not achieve it. He could only go to the Bloodwave realm first and study it slowly when he got there. Phew. Jian Wushuang stood up and looked at iceberg longingly. Then he went straight to the drill ground. On the drill ground where Jian Wushuang had fought with Duan Lang, several figures had gathered. Jian Wushuang flew over from afar and landed in front of these figures. As soon as he arrived, Jian Wushuang bowed to the black-clothed elder in front of him and said, "Greetings, Lord Hunyuan." Yes. The black-clothed elder, master of Hunyuan, nodded slightly. Temple Master Bai Xing has instructed me to lead you to the Bloodwave realm. Among the 6 of you, Heavenly Sword Marquis has just arrived at my temporal temple. Previously, he had only met Duan Lang, Chen Hongzi, and Fei Xue, but I'm afraid that the other 2 haven't met yet. Now, you can get to know each other first. As soon as Hunyuan Master finished speaking, a burly man in red armor walked out and stood in front of Jian Wushuang. He stared at Jian Wushuang with his slightly bloodshot eyes and then grinned, revealing his white teeth. He said, "Your heavenly sword, Heavenly? I heard that you were able to severely injure Duan Lang after he used the Black Demon Realm. He didn't even have the confidence to defeat you. You're quite powerful." "You're, you." Jian Wushuang looked at the burly man in front of him. He had heard from Chen Hongzi and the others that Yu was simple and honest. He looked a bit silly, which was obviously a perfect match for the man in front of him. "It's me." Yu nodded. "I had been training outside and came back 6 months ago. When I came back, I heard about the battle between you and Duan Lang. Then I couldn't help but fight with Duan Lang. I have to say that Duan Lang has cultivated the Black Demon secret skill to the profound realm, so his strength is indeed very strong. I can't even gain any advantage from fighting with him." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was shocked. He had fought with Duan Lang before, so he knew that Duan Lang's battle strength was almost comparable to that of the Invincible Saint. However, Yu was comparable to Duan Lang, which showed his strength. Heavenly Sword Marquis, ignore him. This guy is a battle maniac. If you talk to him, he will challenge you again. Chen Hongzi, Duan Lang, and Fei Xue also walked up. Chapter 3206, Heading to the Bloodwave Realm. What? Even if I really want to fight with the Heavenly Sword Marquis, what does it have to do with you guys? Yu glanced at Chen Hongzi and the other 2 unhappily. It doesn't have anything to do with you guys, but Yu, don't blame me for not reminding you. Although you can fight Duan Lang to a draw, the Heavenly Sword Marquis methods are quite special. He has mastered the shadowless escape technique, and when he uses it, it can be used without a trace. Duan Lang is qualified to fight him because he has the Black Demon domain that can sense his position. As for you, Chen Hongzi smiled strangely. If you fight with the Heavenly Sword Marquis, I'm afraid you won't even be able to touch the corner of his clothes. You'll only be a living target for him. Shadowless escape art? Yu frowned slightly. He had cultivated in the true martial mystic realm for a very long time. Naturally, he had seen the iceberg left by the master of the bloodshed god. Naturally, he had some understanding of the shadowless escape art. I'm just saying. How could I really fight with him? Yu said. Haha, if you really want to fight with Heavenly Sword Marquis, we won't stop you. Chen Hongzi laughed. Duan Lang and Fei Xue also had gloating smiles on their faces. Brother Heavenly Marquis. Chen Hongzi pulled Jian Wushuang to the side and said, "You already know Yu. He's silly. You don't have to pay attention to him. Let me introduce him to you. Di Hao. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the cold man in a blood-red robe standing next to him. The cold man had a cold face and long scarlet hair. His long and narrow eyes were extremely cold, and the 2-meter-long axe on his back was quite conspicuous. Di Hao was widely recognized as the strongest expert in the temporal temple among the immortal saint. Qian Hongzi was also an invincible saint, but he knew that he was no match for Di Hao. Giant axe. Jian Wushuang looked at the giant axe on Di Hao's back and frowned slightly. It must be known that the cultivators in the temporal temple all comprehended the principles of time and space. The principles of time and space focused on speed and power, so they were not very good at it. Therefore, the cultivators who comprehended the principles of time and space usually chose more nimble weapons. For example, Jian Wushuang was good at swordsmanship. Duan Lang used a spear. Qian Hongzi used a saber as a weapon. They were both more agile and could perfectly cooperate with spacetime principles. However, Di Hao used a giant axe as a weapon. The giant axe was powerful and heavy, so it was not suitable to use spacetime principles. As if seeing Jian Wushuang's surprise, Qian Hongzi said softly, "Brother Heavenly Marquis, you probably don't know that Di Hao comprehended both the spacetime principles and the destruction principles at the same time. His attainments in the destruction principles are higher than the spacetime principles. The giant axe on his back has been refined by an expert. Not only can he control it with the destruction principles, but he can also control it with the spacetime principles." Is that so? Jian Wushuang suddenly understood. Di Hao glanced at Jian Wushuang and nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang naturally smiled and nodded in response. "It seems like what you said before, Di Hao is more withdrawn." Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. "Yes, but don't take it to heart. Although he is more withdrawn, he is still easy to get along with." Qian Hongzi said. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. "All right." The grand voice came out of the mouth of the Chaos Master. Immediately, Jian Wushuang and the others shut their mouths and looked at the Chaos Master. The Bloodwave realm is about to open, and every time it opens, the battles inside will be unusually fierce and even crazy. Although your strength is at the top level among the immortal saints and 6 of you are working together, you still have to be careful in the Bloodwave realm. After all, those who can enter the Bloodwave realm are all very powerful. Even the weakest should be a peak true saint of the 7th rank, and most of them are peak saints. There are also many who are invincible saints. If you are not careful enough, you will also be in danger of dying. You have to know that in the history of our temporal temple, there have been precedents of people dying in the Bloodwave realm. 300,000 years ago, 2 people died in the Bloodwave realm. 8 million years ago, only 2 people survived. 30 million years ago, it was the worst time for the temporal temple. All 5 people who entered the temporal temple died. Not a single one survived. Hunyuan Master's deep voice rang in Jian Wushuang and the others' ears. Jian Wushuang and the others looked solemn. They did not dare to underestimate the fierce competition and slaughter in the Bloodwave realm. Just as Hunyuan Master had said, the temporal temple had suffered heavy losses in the Bloodwave realm. During the fierce competition and slaughter, many peak saints who yearned for the opportunities in the Bloodwave temple would be killed. They did not care whether they were from the temporal temple or not. As long as they were in their way, they would be killed. Because the battle in the Bloodwave realm is crazy, the temporal temple will give each of you a drop of divine power as a support, Hunyuan Master said as he flipped his hand. Immediately, drops of divine power floated toward Jian Wushuang and the others. Jian Wushuang and the others each received a drop of divine power. Divine power was very useful at critical moments. However, in fact, not only Jian Wushuang, but Qian Hongzi, Duan Lang, and the others had already made some preparations. No one had prepared a few drops of divine power, which was enough for them to use in the Bloodwave realm. "It's about time, let's go." Without saying anything else, the Hunyuan Master led Jian Wushuang and the others away from the time-space island. After leaving the special time-space where the time-space island was located, they teleported and hurried on their way. In less than half a day, they arrived at a huge sea area. In the middle of the sea area, there was a cliff. "We're here." The Hunyuan master landed on the cliff. At this moment, there were many cultivators on the cliff. At a glance, there seemed to be more than 100 people. Is this the entrance to the Bloodwave realm? Jian Wushuang looked at the crowd gathered in front of him. The Bloodwave realm is very special in the Divine Beginning realm. No one knows its exact location. People in the Divine Beginning realm can only enter through the spatial passage that opens once every 100,000 years. There are a total of 10 spatial passages into the Bloodwave realm, 3 of which are in the first heaven, second heaven, and third heaven. The last one is on the Broken Moon Cliff in the boundless sea beyond the third heaven, which is where we are now, Hunyuan Master explained. Chapter 3207, True Saint ranking many forces and sects in the third heaven enter the Bloodwave realm through the spatial passage in the third heaven. The space-time where our temporal temple is located is extremely special and is not within the third heaven. Therefore, every time our temporal temple enters the Bloodwave realm through the spatial passage on the Mirror Moon Cliff. Most of the cultivators on the Mirror Moon Cliff are from the Boundless Sea and some of the major forces around the third heaven. Many of them are solitary experts, Hunyuan Master said. Jian Wushuang understood. He had noticed that the hundreds of cultivators gathered on the Mirror Moon Cliff all had extraordinary auras. Most of them were at the peak of the Saint realm, and there were even 3 invincible saints. This is just a space passage beyond the third heaven. The core of the Divine Beginning realm is the third heaven. There are 9 space passages in the third heaven, so there must be more experts gathered there. The quality will also be higher. Conservatively speaking, there should be thousands of experts entering the Bloodwave realm this time. Jian Wushuang was secretly amazed. When Jian Wushuang and the others appeared on the Mirror Moon Cliff, there was a commotion among the cultivators on the Mirror Moon Cliff. It's the Temporal Temple. The people from the Temporal Temple are here. I don't know the Principal's master, but I know the 6 people behind him and the cold man with a giant axe on his back. Hes Di Hao, who's on the True Saint list. Doesn't the Temporal Temple only have 5 slots to enter the Bloodwave realm? Why are there 6 people here? What's the rank 6 True Saint doing here? A rank 6 True Saint wants to enter the Bloodwave realm? Are you kidding me? Humph, why not? The Temporal Temple is one of the 3 Freedom Alliances. Although only 5 people have entered the Bloodwave realm in the past, if the Temporal Temple is willing to send 6 people in, so what? Who dares to say anything? That's true. Whispers rang out in the crowd. Many experts in the crowd looked at Jian Wushuang and the others with awe and envy. The Temporal Temple was a behemoth in the Divine Beginning realm. Many people yearned for it to become an expert under such a behemoth. The space passage hasn't been opened yet. Let's wait here first, said the Hunyuan Master. Jian Wushuang and the others immediately stopped where they were. Jian Wushuang was listening to the discussions of the surrounding cultivators. He could hear some of the discussions clearly. Most of them were aimed at Di Hao and Jian Wushuang. They were talking about Di Hao because his name was big. They were talking about Jian Wushuang because Jian Wushuang was only at the 6th level True Saint realm. He was too conspicuous in the crowd. Haha, it seems that Di Hao has stolen our limelight. Yu laughed loudly. Nonsense, who told you that we are not as famous as Di Hao? Qian Hongzi rolled his eyes at Yu. Guys, Jian Wushuang suddenly said, I heard that they mentioned Di Hao many times and said that he was on the True Saint list. What is the True Saint list? You even know about the True Saint list? Yu looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Brother Heavenly Marquis, you haven't cultivated for long and improved so fast. It's normal that you don't know about it. Qian Hongzi smiled. He continued, Brother Heavenly Marquis, I have a piece of information about some famous immortal saints in this era. Take a closer look and you'll know. Qian Hongzi waved his hand and handed a thick piece of information to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took it and immediately began to read it. So many people. Jian Wushuang exclaimed after a short while. The piece of information Qian Hongzi gave him was hundreds of pages long. As he read it, he found that almost half a page of the information had introduced an expert. Adding up the hundreds of pages, it was equivalent to mentioning nearly 1,000 expert. These nearly 1,000 experts were well known in the divine beginning realm, and their strength was astonishing. They were at least at the peak of the saint realm. Hey! Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed. This is Dao Long. Jian Wushuang looked at the information in his hand. The first half of the page that he was looking at was the introduction of Dao Long. Dao Long had helped Jian Wushuang in solving a siege by the Purple Cloud Pavilion. Of course, Jian Wushuang had paid a huge price to invite Dao Long because he had issued an emperor-level mission to the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. The strength that Dao Long had displayed at that time was indeed very impressive. Now that Jian Wushuang saw the information on the report, he immediately understood. No wonder the Purple Cloud Pavilion could not do anything to Dao Dragon without the principal's master. It turns out that Dao Dragon has already reached the peak saint realm. Jian Wushuang smiled. The information Qian Hongzi gave him was obtained from the temporal temple and was extremely accurate. Dao Dragon had reached the peak saint realm 30,000 years ago, and his life-saving methods were very strong. He had lost to the invincible saint more than once. For example, the Purple Cloud Pavilion had sent the invincible saint to hunt down Dao Dragon, however, Dao Long had easily escaped. In the divine beginning realm, Dao Long was indeed very famous. Brother Heavenly Marquis, you've been reading Dao Long's information for so long. Could it be that you've had dealings with him before? Qian Hongzi looked over. Yes, we have. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. No wonder, Qian Hongzi said calmly, I've also skimmed through Dao Long's information. His strength is only average and has at the bottom among the peak saints. However, his life-saving skills are not bad. At the bottom? Jian Wushuang was speechless, but he was not surprised. Then, Jian Wushuang continued to read. The information of experts, including powerful peak saints and even invincible saints, appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. After an hour, Jian Wushuang finally saw the last part of the information, which was the true saint list. There were 60 pages of the true saint list, with only 30 names recorded on every 2 pages. There are only 30 people on the true saint list. Jian Wushuang was surprised. There are 30 people. No matter which era, there will only be 30 names on the true saint list. These 30 names should be the strongest 30 immortal saints of this era, and they are ranked according to their strength, Qian Hongzi said. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and then looked forward from the bottom of the list. The 30th on the true saint list is An Luo from the Void Heaven sect. Chapter 3208. Entering An Luo specializes in the laws of darkness. His comprehension of the principles of darkness has reached perfection. He is only one step away from mastering them completely. He cultivates the Void Heaven secret art and has reached great success. He can condense 3 Void Heaven demonic shadows at the same time and is skilled in saber techniques. He is known for his strangeness. His strongest technique, Dream of Darkness, once fought against 5 immortal lords by himself 30,000 years ago. He defeated 5 immortal lords and killed 3 of them. He became famous in one battle. The information on this report was very detailed about An Luo. It included the principles he had comprehended, the secret techniques he was good at, and his achievements since he became famous. An Luo is so strong. Jian Wushuang could not help but exclaim. In this report, there was a mention of the 5 immortal emperors. One of them was the invincible saint, and the other 4 were peak saints. This lineup was extremely powerful, however, An Luo defeated the 5 immortal emperors and killed 3 of them. This ability was not something an invincible saint could have. That was why An Luo was listed on the true saint list. Although he was ranked last, he was still very impressive. Ranked 29th on the true saint list, Tyrannical Spear GUG, Jian Wushuang looked at the rankings one by one from the back to the front. He looked at them in great detail. He looked at the techniques that the experts on the true saint list were good at and the battle results they had obtained. He became more and more surprised. It had to be said that those who could be ranked on the true saint list were the most terrifying existences among the invincible saints. Each of them had the strength to easily crush an ordinary invincible saint. When they met a peak saint, They could easily sweep them away. At this moment, Jian Wushuang saw a name. Number 8 on the True Saint list, Di Hao of the Temporal Temple. It's Di Hao? Jian Wushuang's heart moved. He had just learned that Di Hao was ranked on the True Saint list, but he did not know the ranking on the True Saint list. Only now did he know that Di Hao was ranked on the True Saint list. He was ranked 8th. Although he was only ranked 8th, he should not underestimate this ranking. Anyone who could be ranked on the True Saint list was the most terrifying existence among the immortal saints. Those who could be ranked in the top 10 were all monsters, although they could not be compared to the Principal's masters. However, their strength had completely surpassed that of an ordinary invincible saint. Any one of the top 10, on the True Saint list, could almost fight against several invincible saints at the same time. For example, Di Hao's battle record showed that he had once fought against 3 invincible saints at the same time, and even forced them to retreat. One could imagine how terrifying his strength was. Jian Wushuang continued to look forward. In the end, ranked 3rd on the True Saint list, Holy Maiden of 9 Palaces. Ranked 2nd on the True Saint list, Holy Devil's Son. Ranked 1st on the True Saint list, Light King. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank when he saw the information about the 3 people. The reason was that the 3 people had killed the invincible saint in a head-on fight. This was a head-on fight, not just a defeat. The top 30, on the True Saint list, all have a head-on fight with an invincible saint. The top 3 can defeat 2 or 3 invincible saints at the same time. However, they can only defeat them, but they can't kill them, Jian Wushuang said with a serious expression. The Invincible Saint's title meant that they were at the peak of the immortal saint realm. Experts at this level not only had extremely powerful abilities, but they also had their own life-saving methods. Some of the Invincible Saint's life-saving methods were so powerful that even the Principal's master could not do anything to them. As the Invincible Saint, he must have some special trump cards. For example, the power of God. If an invincible saint did not care about anything and used the wisp of power contained in the power of God, it would be very terrifying if he went all out. Because of this, in the divine beginning realm, it was very difficult for an invincible saint and an invincible saint to kill each other, even if there was a gap between their strength. Even experts on the True Saint list could not do it. However, the top 3 on the True Saint list had killed an invincible saint. These 3 should be the 3 strongest immortal saints of this era, Jian Wushuang thought. Brother Heavenly Marquis, you should read the information I gave you, especially the experts on the True Saint list. If nothing goes wrong, at least half of the 30 experts on the True Saint list will enter the Bloodwave realm. We might encounter them when we travel in the Bloodwave realm or even fight for the opportunity. With this information, at least you can recognize them when you see them. If you fight them, you'll know what they're good at and you can be more cautious. Also, if we meet some strange experts in the Bloodwave realm that we haven't heard of or reported, we can't be careless. After all, the divine beginning realm is very big. There are many powerful immortal saints who have never shown their power or made a name for themselves. However, their power is terrifying. As far as I know, many strange experts will rise in the Bloodwave realm every time. Some of them can even challenge the True Saint ranking. Every time the Bloodwave realm ends, the rankings on the True Saint ranking will change greatly, Qian Hongzi said. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Duan Lang, Fei Xue, and Yu Yu, who were standing next to him, looked extremely solemn. Only Di Hao had been extremely cold. At this moment, a strange energy fluctuation rose in the open space in the center of the Mirror Moon Cliff. It's starting. The Bloodwave realm is finally about to open. Get ready. The crowd immediately became restless. Countless eyes were fixed on the rising energy fluctuation, and all of them were extremely hot. The Bloodwave realm is about to open. The 6 of you, be careful in the Bloodwave realm, Chaos Master warned. Jian Wushuang and the others nodded heavily. The energy in the center began to condense. In a moment, a space passage appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It's opened. Let's go in. Into the Bloodwave realm. More than 100 cultivators on the Mirror Moon Cliff rushed into the space passage like wasps. One by one, they rushed into the space passage. Let's go in, Chen Hongzi said. Jian Wushuang, Di Hao, Duan Lang, Fei Xue, Yu Yu, and Chen Hongzi immediately rushed into the space passage. Chapter 3209. Inside the Bloodwave realm there were 3 blood moons hanging high in the blood-red sky. The soil on the damp ground was also slightly red. The air was filled with a faint blood-red mist, making the entire world look very bewitching. And this was the Bloodwave realm. In the divine beginning realm, countless immortal saints longed for and yearned for this place. In one of the void, hundreds of cultivators who had just come in through the spatial passage from Mirror Moon Cliff appeared here. As soon as they appeared, they first observed their surroundings. This is the Bloodwave realm? Jian Wushuang also looked around. I feel that other than being a little demonic, everything else is no different from the outside world. Well, no, Jian Wushuang suddenly frowned. I can vaguely feel that there seems to be some kind of restriction in this world. Yes, there is a restriction. Chen Hongzi looked over. This restriction is a restriction on the power. I've long heard that the power in the Bloodwave realm can only exist at the level of the immortal saint. Any power beyond the immortal saint's level will be restricted here. That is to say, even if a principal's master comes here, the battle strength he can exert is only at the level of the immortal saint. Of course, the principal's master can't enter the Bloodwave realm at all. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, but he felt a little regretful. The Bloodwave realm restricted all power beyond the level of the immortal saint. That meant that the life-saving items given to him by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, the 2 tokens refined by the 2 palace masters of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, could not be used by him in the Bloodwave realm. It was impossible for him to use them. Although there is a limit to our powers, there is no space. Those of us who have comprehended the space-time principles can still use teleportation in the Bloodwave realm, Chen Hongzi said with a smile. Jian Wushuang also realized that the space-time in the Bloodwave realm was no different from the outside world. He could not only use teleportation here but also use space-time teleportation. As long as I can use time-space teleportation, no one in the Bloodwave realm can pose a real threat to me, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. The surrounding cultivators who had entered the Bloodwave realm through the space passage in the Mirror Moon Cliff all rushed to the surroundings. Let's go. The Bloodwave realm has just opened, so the fight for the Bloodwave token will not start for some time. Before that, we will go to the depths of the Bloodwave realm. According to our previous experience, most of the Bloodwave tokens appear in the depths of the Bloodwave realm. We can only be qualified to fight for the Bloodwave token if we get there first, Chen Hongzi said. The Bloodwave token was the ticket to enter the Bloodwave Palace. Every time the Bloodwave realm was opened, 10 Bloodwave tokens would appear randomly. Those who received the Bloodwave tokens could finally enter the Bloodwave Palace and get an opportunity. Let's go. Jian Wushuang and the other 3 people started to move. They did not use teleportation. Instead, they relied on their own speed to fly all the way to the core area of the Bloodwave realm. In a flash, 3 days had passed. The Bloodwave realm is really big. We have traveled for 3 days at our speed, but we still haven't reached the core area of the Bloodwave realm, Jian Wushuang sighed. Haha, it's still early. The territory of the Bloodwave realm is much larger than many countries in the first heaven. We haven't used teleportation. We can probably reach the core area in 10 days at our own speed. Chen Hongzi smiled. But we don't need to rush. In the past, the Bloodwave token only appeared 1 month after the Bloodwave realm opened. We have plenty of time. Jian Wushuang nodded. Because they had plenty of time, they did not need to rush. That was why they left casually and did not use teleportation. But at this moment, boom, 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 boom. A series of intense energy rumbles were suddenly transmitted over from the void in front of them. These rumbles continued to ring out. It was very obvious that there were people fighting in front of them. What's going on? This isn't the core region of the Bloodwave realm. Furthermore, that Bloodwave token has yet to appear. The battle has yet to begin. Why are there people fighting now? Chen Hongzi looked ahead in astonishment. It shouldn't be for the Bloodwave token. Perhaps there is a personal grudge between us, and we just happened to bump into each other here. That's why we took action. Fei Shui said. It's rare for us to meet someone who is fighting fiercely. Should we go over and take a look? Yu Yu's eyes were emitting light. Haha, go, of course, well go. Qian Hongzi laughed. Immediately, the 6 of them headed directly toward the void where the battle was taking place. As soon as they appeared in the void near the battleground, they were immediately attracted by the battle ahead. There were a total of 5 cultivators on one side of the battle, and all 5 of them were extremely powerful. 3 of them were invincible saints, and the remaining 2 were also extremely powerful peak saints. As for the other side, there were only 3 cultivators, and they were only invincible saints, while the other 2 were peak saints. The difference in strength and lineup between the 2 sides was obviously huge. Because of this, the side of the 3 cultivators had already been defeated, and they were in a terrible situation. That person, Qian Hongzi, Fei Shui, Duan Lang, and the others stared at the black-haired handsome young man who had the strongest and most dazzling aura at the center of the battle. The black-haired handsome youth held a long spear in both of his hands, and both spears were covered in dark purple lightning. He was like the ruler of lightning, and he was extremely domineering. The spear in his hand stabbed out again and again, and the invincible saint who was fighting with him was completely suppressed by him. Thunder God. It's the Thunder God of the Destruction Saint realm, ranked 6th on the True Saint ranking. Qian Hongzi, Fei Shui, Duan Lang, and Yu Yu were all shocked. Even Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank. He had read Qian Hongzi's information carefully, so he could recognize the man in front of him. Thunder God, ranked 6th on the True Saint list, was born in the Thunder Beast clan, a peak clan in the Divine Beginning realm. He was born to be the favorite of Thunder. He had incredible talent in Thunder principles, and later joined the Destruction Saint realm. He was the strongest immortal saint in the Destruction Saint realm. His strongest battle record was that he fought against 4 invincible saints by himself and defeated them head-on. This was even more shocking than Di Hao's battle record. People from the Destruction Saint realm. Jian Wushuang stared at Thunder God in the distance, with a hint of killing intent in his eyes. In the Divine Beginning realm, there were 3 saint realms: the Destruction Saint realm, the Saint realm of life and death, and the Saint realm of fire. The 3 saint realms were named after the 3 masters of the Saint realm, and they were mortal enemies with Jian Wushuang. Now that he saw the people from the Destruction Saint realm, Jian Wushuang was filled with killing intent. Chapter 32:10, Attack Thunder God. The 3 of us don't have any personal grudges against you. Our Ziwei divine sect has always been in awe of the Destruction Saint realm. Why do you have to be so aggressive? The long-haired old man who was fighting with Thunder God shouted in a low voice. You and I don't have any personal grudges, but your Ziwei divine sect has always been in awe of my Destruction Saint realm, but that doesn't seem to be the case, does it? Don't forget, 100,000 years ago, the last time the Bloodwave realm opened, there was an invincible saint of our Destruction Saint realm. It was because of the defeat of your Ziwei divine sect that he died, Thunder God said coldly. The last time the Bloodwave realm opened? The long-haired elder was startled. Then, he said angrily, that was because both sides fought over the Bloodwave token. There was no fair background to speak of. Even if you died in the battle, you can only blame yourself for not being strong enough. You can't blame anyone else, but you, the Destruction Saint realm, actually used this matter to make a fuss? Humph, I, who destroy the Saint realm, can't die in vain, Thunder God said coldly. Stop struggling and accept your death. The battle immediately became even more intense. In the void not far from the battlefield, Jian Wushuang and the other 3 heard the conversation between Thunder God and the long-haired elder. Thanks, this Destruction Saint realm is really overbearing. The fight for opportunities in the Bloodwave realm is extremely crazy. Countless experts from various forces will participate in the fight, and it is reasonable to accidentally kill them in the fight. Under normal circumstances, if an expert from their side is killed in the fight for opportunities, the force behind the expert will not take revenge. They can only blame themselves for not being good enough. Although the forces of the Divine Beginning realm have never agreed on this point, they have long formed a tacit understanding. Only in this way can the experts of the forces of the absolute beginning divine realm fight for that opportunity without any scruples. But this destruction saint realm is still holding a grudge. Qian Hongzi sneered. The three saint realms have always been overbearing. This point has long been known to the world. However, perhaps they still have some misgivings about the forces of the divine beginning realm. This destruction holy region didn't directly take revenge on the Ziwei divine sect on the surface. They only attacked when the Bloodwave realm opened this time. Duan Lang said. In any case, the three people from the Ziwei divine sect are unlucky to be targeted by Thunder God and the others, Yu said, but suddenly, his expression changed. Guys, it's rare to meet people from the Destruction Saint realm. Should we directly attack them and teach them a lesson? Directly attack them? Teach them a lesson? Jian Wushuang was stunned. However, Qian Hongzi, Fei Xue, and Duan Lang were quite enthusiastic. Brother Heavenly Marquis, I'm afraid you don't know that in the divine beginning realm, the three great saint realms are high and mighty. Only the three great freedom alliances are qualified to challenge the three great saint realms directly. Because of this, the three great freedom alliances and the three great saint realms have been fighting for a long time. Whether it is on the surface or in the dark, there are many battles. Both sides have long been like fire and water. In this Bloodwave realm, the competition between the three great saint realms and the three great freedom alliances is also very fierce, Qian Hongzi said with a smile. Yes, Temple Master Bai Xing has already told us that if we meet people from the three saint realms, we don't have to be polite with them, Yu said with a smile. In that case, what are we waiting for? Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. He was worried that he could not find a reason to attack the three saint realms. Di Hao, what about you? Qian Hongzi glanced at Di Hao. Thunder God, leave it to me, Di Hao said coldly. Haha, if that's the case, then let's do it. Qian Hongzi laughed, and instantly, 6 figures charged towards the battlefield. On the battlefield, the three from the Ziwei divine sect were in a precarious situation. But at this moment, Su, 6 figures charged toward them at an astonishing speed. Hey! The faces of the 5 from the Destruction Saint realm all changed. That person is Di Hao? Thunder God's eyes darkened. Not good, it's the temporal temple. Careful. Thunder God immediately let out a low shout. The 6 from the temporal temple were all experts in the principles of space and time, and they were astonishingly fast. In an instant, they had charged into the battlefield. The leader, Di Hao, was emitting an endless destructive aura. As he approached, the huge axe on his back appeared out of thin air in his hand. Boom! The huge axe suddenly slashed out. Just the power of this earth-shattering axe was enough to make ordinary peak saints despair. However, Di Hao was facing Thunder God, who was ranked 6th on the true saint rankings. In terms of ranking, he was even higher than Di Hao. Get lost. Di Hao let out a roar. The 2 long spears in his hands were filled with endless dark purple lightning. The moment he stabbed out, a huge dark purple thunder dragon instantly roared. Bang! With a loud sound, the thunder dragon collapsed and the axe shadow dissipated. Di Hao and Thunder God both retreated rapidly. However, the next moment, they rushed out again and fought fiercely. While Di Hao and Thunder God were fighting, Qian Hongzi, Yu, Duan Lang, Fei Xue, and Jian Wushuang also found their opponents. Jian Wushuang's opponent was a beautiful woman in a plain robe. The beautiful woman wore a pair of crystal gloves, which were suffused with rich principles power. When she saw Jian Wushuang rushing toward her, she was stunned. The beautiful woman was stunned. A mere rank 6 true saint dares to enter the Bloodwave realm? You're courting death. The beautiful woman raised her right hand. Under the gathering of endless divine power, her right hand instantly enlarged and then directly struck toward Jian Wushuang. Come on. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. When he approached the beautiful woman, the divine power aura on his body also began to rise at an alarming speed. 7-star secret skill, divine punishment, and 9 brilliant star armor. In just a short moment, Jian Wushuang had displayed all three secret skills at the same time, and his battle strength had reached its peak. Wushuang Sword Manual, Shi Xiong. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold as he slashed down with the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. Along with a mournful beast roar, an astonishing ruthless aura spread out. A blood-red sword light, like a blood-red thunderbolt, struck the beautiful woman's crystal-clear palm in an instant, then a terrifying power suddenly erupted. What? The beautiful woman clearly did not expect that the power contained in Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship would be so strong. In an instant, she felt her palm go numb and a majestic impact came. It caused her to take several steps back before she came to a stop. How is this possible? He's only a rank 6 true saint. How can he be so powerful? He's actually stronger than me. The beautiful woman's face was filled with disbelief. Chapter 32:11. Killing a person. The beautiful woman did not know that although Jian Wushuang was only a rank 6 true saint, he was a perfect chaotic creature with a high level of life. Even though he was only a rank 6 true saint, his divine power was still as powerful as many peak saints. Once he used the 7-star secret skill, the Divine Punishment God, and the 9 luminary star armor, his divine power would rise to the level of an invincible saint. Of course, the judgment power of an invincible saint was much stronger than that of a peak saint like this beautiful woman. Fei Xue, leave Su Ying to me. Go help Duan Lang, Jian Wushuang said. This beautiful woman, Su Ying, was an extremely powerful peak saint. She was one of the experts that Chen Hongzi had told him about. Jian Wushuang could recognize her at a glance. Okay. Fei Xue was also charging toward the beautiful woman. After hearing Jian Wushuang's words, she immediately turned around and headed toward the battlefield. Jian Wushuang relied on his divine power, which was stronger than her, and his swordsmanship to fight head-on with Su Ying. In a short period of time, he had the absolute advantage in terms of strength. Su Ying was obviously weaker than Jian Wushuang. The 6 from the Temporal Temple had already fought with the 5 from the Destruction Saint realm. As for the 3 from the Purple Myrtle sect, they seized the opportunity to escape. They did not join hands with the Temporal Temple to fight against the 5 from the Destruction Saint realm, so Jian Wushuang and the others were not surprised. The Purple Myrtle sect was only a relatively large force in the second heaven. They did not have the courage to challenge the Destruction Saint realm. Even if the Destruction Saint realm attacked them first, they would not dare to fight back until the critical moment. They still did not dare to fight back. At this moment, buzz! A pitch-black axe shadow suddenly condensed in the center of the battlefield. An unprecedented destructive aura also spread out from the axe shadow. The moment the axe shadow took shape, everyone on the battlefield was instantly attracted by the axe shadow. This axe, Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly shrank. This axe shadow gave him a feeling that he could not block it. It was invincible. The surroundings of the Thunder God had already turned into a giant thunder prison. In this thunder prison, he was the ruler. He controlled the power of millions of thunderbolts. In an instant, the endless power of thunderbolts gathered and formed a terrifying thunder beast. The thunder beast opened its mouth, wanting to swallow the axe shadow. But in the end, bang! The axe shadow split everything in front of it. That huge thunder beast was also split into 2 halves by this axe shadow. The mighty axe shadow descended, and even the thunder god was unable to block it. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. With a loud bang, the thunder god's body was sent flying. It took a long time before he regained his balance. This axe. Di Hao. Thunder god's eyes flashed with a terrifying light as he stared at Di Hao. Then, he looked at the other battlefields around him. On the other battlefields, the Temporal Temple had the absolute advantage. After all, the Temporal Temple had one more person than the Destruction Saint realm. Moreover, in terms of quality, Di Hao was fighting against him. Chen Hongzi was fighting against another invincible saint of the Destruction Saint realm. Both sides were evenly matched. The last invincible saint of the Destruction Saint realm was entangled by Duan Lang and Fei Xue. Duan Lang used the Black Demon realm and his battle strength barely reached the level of an invincible saint. Together with Fei Xue, he was not afraid of the invincible saint of the Saint Realm of Destruction. As for the remaining two peak saints of the Destruction Saint Realm, one was fighting with Yu Yu, who was suppressed by his tyrannical strength. The last one was the beautiful woman, Su Ying, who was fighting against Jian Wushuang. According to reason, the two people with the biggest gap in strength had been at a disadvantage in the battle between Su Ying and Jian Wushuang. The entire situation was obviously disadvantageous to the Destruction Saint Realm. Retreat. Thunder God had already recognized the situation in front of him. He did not want to continue fighting with the people of the Temporal Temple and directly gave the order to retreat. Immediately, the people of the Destruction Saint Realm used their means to get rid of their opponents and leave this place. You want to escape? It's not that easy. Qian Hongzi, Duan Lang, Yu Yu, and Fei Xue were all trying to stop them. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly turned cold. It's not easy to attack the people from the Destruction Saint Realm. How can we let them escape so easily? At least one or two of them should stay. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with killing intent. He glanced at Su Ying, who had already turned around and was about to retreat, but his body swayed slightly. Buzz. Jian Wushuang disappeared. At least in the perception of the surrounding people, he had completely disappeared. Su Ying was ready to meet up with the Thunder God. She was not slow, and she was very close to the Thunder God. But suddenly, a cold sword light appeared out of thin air behind her and instantly pierced toward her heart. This sword light appeared too suddenly, and its speed was incredibly fast. Most importantly, there was not a single trace of power or movement, and it was completely silent. Su Ying did not have the time to react at all. Ah! A shrill scream suddenly sounded out from Su Ying's mouth. Su Ying lowered his head with great difficulty, only to discover that a blood-colored sharp sword had already pierced through her chest, and at the same time, it fused into the 3 drops of cold blood venom within the sword. It immediately began to work. BZZZ. Su Ying's divine body instantly collapsed. Not good. Junior sister Su Ying. The faces of Thunder God and the remaining 3 from the Destruction Saint Realm all changed drastically. They were preparing to leave this place, while the Temporal Temple was chasing after them. At this critical moment, Su Ying was actually caught up by them, and his divine body was directly destroyed. Although Su Ying's divine body had only collapsed, he had not died yet. One had to know that while his divine body was reassembling, he could not move. At this moment, the members of the Temporal Temple had already crazily pounced on Su Ying. Kill her. Haha, we can't escape, right? Qian Hongzi, Duan Lang, Yu Yu, and Fei Xue all attacked without hesitation. Su Ying's divine body had not had the time to reassemble before it was dealt a devastating blow. Even Thunder God and the others did not have the time to rescue him before they were directly killed. Damn it! Thunder God and the other 3 from the Destruction Saint Realm looked extremely upset when they saw this, but they could do nothing. Let's go! Thunder God shouted in a low voice, and the 4 of them rushed into the void in front of them. Jian Wushuang and the others did not chase after them. The huge battlefield quickly calmed down. Jian Wushuang stood there and looked at the void where Su Ying died, but his face was extremely cold, as expected of an expert from the 3 Saint Realms. His divine power is much more abundant than that of an ordinary peak saint. My Blood Mountain Sword can fuse 3 drops of cold blood poison at the same time. These 3 drops of cold blood poison are enough to erode more than half of the divine power of an ordinary peak saint. Under normal circumstances, I can kill an ordinary peak saint with 2 strikes. As for Su Ying, I just noticed that he was defeated by my sword, and only lost 30% of his divine power. Chapter 32:12, Heavenly Sword Marquis. 30%, less than 1/3. In other words, Jian Wushuang needed at least 3 or even 4 strikes to kill Su Ying. Fortunately, Qian Hongzi and the others had just swarmed over, so they could kill Su Ying. Brother Heavenly Marquis, your shadowless escape skill is too terrifying. Su Ying is an extremely powerful peak saint, but she didn't have time to react before her divine body was destroyed by you. If you hadn't destroyed her divine body and left her behind, we would have watched the people from the Destruction Saint realm escape, Yu said with a smile. This move is indeed abnormal. Even I have a headache facing this move, Qian Hongzi added. After killing Su Ying, everyone seemed to be quite happy. Everyone, is it okay for us to kill people from the Destruction Saint realm? Jian Wushuang asked with a frown. No problem. What can be wrong? Qian Hongzi smiled. It has been a long time since the Temporal Temple fought with the three saint realms. In the Bloodwave realm, the Temporal Temple has killed people from the three saint realms. Similarly, the three saint realms have killed cultivators from the Temporal Temple here, so both sides are used to it. Temple Master Bai Xing has told us that we must not show mercy to people from the three saint realms. If we can kill them, we must not let them live. That's good. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, but he was quite happy. The Temporal Temple's actions meant that as long as he was capable, he could kill the people from the three saint realms without any scruples. However, the three saint realms have always been overbearing. We killed a peak saint from the Destruction Saint realm right away, so the Destruction Saint realm will probably hold a grudge against us. We must be careful when we travel in the Bloodwave realm. Maybe the Destruction Saint realm will plot against us, Qian Hongzi added. Yes. Everyone nodded in unison. The Purple Myrtle sect, for example, had joined hands to kill an expert from the Destruction Saint realm during the opening of the Bloodwave realm. The Destruction Saint realm had taken revenge on the Purple Myrtle sect. During the opening of the Bloodwave realm, they had taken revenge on the Purple Myrtle sect. Jian Wushuang and the others had killed an expert from the Destruction Saint realm. It would be strange if the Destruction Saint realm did not seek revenge. Just be careful. There's no need to be too afraid. There are only 10 experts from the Destruction Saint realm and 2 on the True Saint list. Now that we've killed Su Ying, there are only 9 people from the Destruction Saint realm left in the Bloodwave realm. Even if all 9 of them join hands to kill us, we don't have to be afraid of them, Qian Hongzi added. Hearing this, everyone laughed. Indeed, the Temporal Temple seemed to only have 6 cultivators, but all of them were extremely powerful and their techniques were extremely brilliant. Especially Di Hao. During the battle just now, everyone could see that he had the upper hand in the battle against Thunder God. With the 6 of them working together, even if they were to face the remaining 9 from the Destruction Saint realm head-on, they would at least be able to protect themselves. Of course, there was no need to be too afraid. Let's go. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBoxNovel. Thanks. The 6 of them continued to move toward the core area of the Bloodwave realm. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 4 figures stopped, and their expressions were extremely ugly. She's dead. Junior sister Su Ying was killed. We just arrived at the Bloodwave realm, and we already lost 1 person. That damned Temporal Temple and that rank 6 true saint from the Temporal Temple deserved to die as well. If he hadn't destroyed junior sister Su Ying's divine body, she definitely wouldn't have died. Low roars spread out one after another. 3 of the 4 had ashen faces. They had seen Su Ying being killed just now, so there was nothing they could do. At that critical moment, they really could not go and save her. That rank 6 true saint is indeed very strange, Thunder God said in a cold voice. He is only a rank 6 true saint, but he is able to fight with junior sister Su Ying. He even has a slight advantage. And what did he do in the end? Did you see how he defeated junior sister Su Ying's divine body? No. The other 3 shook their heads. They had been trying to get rid of their opponents and escape from the battlefield. They had not noticed Su Ying, so they had not seen how Jian Wushuang attacked. Who is he? When did such a genius appear in the Temporal Temple? Thunder God frowned and asked. He was a rank 6 true saint, yet he had the upper hand against a peak saint. Of course, he was a genius. I think of someone, a silver-haired youth suddenly said. Who? Thunder God immediately looked over. Heavenly Sword Marquis. 300 years ago, he killed a rank 7 true saint as a rank 4 true saint. His name is known throughout the divine beginning realm, the silver-haired youth said in a low voice, although I've never seen the battle between Heavenly Sword Marquis and that rank 7 true saint, I've heard that Heavenly Sword Marquis specializes in the Tao of the sword. His comprehension of the principles of space and time is exactly the same as the rank 6 true saint we just saw. Heavenly Sword Marquis? Thunder God's gaze was cold. Regardless of whether this rank 6 true saint is the Heavenly Sword Marquis or not, the people of the Temporal Temple attacked us in the Bloodwave realm and even killed junior sister Su Ying. We can't let this matter go just like that. And that Di Hao, at the mention of Di Hao, Thunder God's expression sank. In their previous battle with the Temporal Temple, Thunder God had fought with Di Hao head-on. Logically speaking, Di Hao was ranked 8th on the True Saint rankings, while Thunder God was ranked 6th. Just based on the ranking alone, his strength should have been stronger. But in the real battle, Di Hao was obviously stronger than him, especially that last axe. Thunder God was extremely shocked. That Di Hao's strength is much more terrifying than the introduction on the True Saint ranking. I'm sure he has the strength of the top 5 on the True Saint ranking. With him around, it's impossible for the 4 of us to take revenge on the Temporal Temple alone. We have no choice but to report this matter to the higher-ups of the Destruction Saint realm. Thunder God made up his mind. He immediately contacted the higher-ups of the Destruction Saint realm. Although the Bloodwave realm was extremely special in the Divine Beginning realm, the spacetime of the Bloodwave realm was not completely cut off from the outside world. In other words, it was still easy to get in contact with the outside world in the Bloodwave realm. 3 heavens, inside a magnificent palace. Buzz, a hazy figure slowly condensed. This hazy figure was surprisingly the consciousness incarnation of the Thunder God. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.